Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Hollins. It's a subsidiary of Bucher and Friends and part of the United WeCast network. I'm Rick Bucher. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can find me on Twitter at Rick Bucher. He is 10-year NBA vet Ryan Hollins. You can see him on ESPN. You can hear him in the early game with the Clippers and the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll be doing the color analysis. First time for an NBA game. We look forward to seeing that, hearing that. And you can also find him on Twitter at the Ryan Hollins. So, Ryan, we are recording this, obviously, before you work that game. How much time have you put into prepping, and what are the nerves compared to getting ready for this game compared to, say, working playing in an actual game?
Man, I'm a workhorse, Rick. I just figure I know I'm crazy. So I like to organize all my thoughts out. So we get a little bit organized chaos when I'm on air. And I know as spontaneous as I may seem, I put a whole lot of work in behind the scenes just to be prepped and be ready and be organized and diligent about what I do, man. Just like basketball, you know, I feel like if you put in the practice, you put in the hours, you put in the work, when it comes game time, you should have nothing to worry about. All that said and done, you know, I've been doing the pre and the post game show, but you get to talk a lot more. You're in the action of what's going on. So I don't know. I'll see. I don't know if I'll be nervous, but I mean, I don't think so. I'll see. I mean, I'm excited to be working along with Ralph Lawler in his last year, man. So I'm kind of hyped about it.
You know, it is very cool because Ralph is retiring and he is an icon and an institution when it comes to the LA Clippers. The fact that you get this opportunity to work with him before he goes, I felt the same way working with Dr. Jack Ramsey, had the opportunity to do that, the late Dr. Jack Ramsey, and a number of other people that are no longer with us. And same thing, Hubie Brown, obviously still with us. I think he just signed a new deal with ESPN, but there's a lot of guys that have been doing this for a while. And
do you want my Ralph Lawler story?
Sure,
before we get started?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. I almost took out Ralph Lawler. When I was a Clipper, I almost took out Ralph Lawler. And Ralph, I think what was that, 5-6 years ago? Maybe longer, Rick? Okay. How long ago was that, right? And Ralph was old then. Okay, Ralph is old now, and I say that with all due respect. We're privileged to get that age. Sure. But I almost took him out before the game.
Oh, before the game?
Before the game, bro.
So they were doing their pregame on the court?
Oh, my Lord. I don't even know why I'm telling this. I'm so embarrassed. So I'm with Kent, our yoga guy, and we would do this deal where he was like, hey, let me help you improve on the things you need to work on. So we would do hip mobility, ankle mobility, yoga poses, and then, you know, as a big guy, I'm like, my hands are everything. So we'd work on, you know, I'd stretch my hands out, I'd spread my hands, I'd do this stuff. Then we go through these passing drills. And me and Kent, you know, single hand pass, left hand pass, single hand, right hand pass, bounce. You know, we kind of like get loose, like, hey, there's all this yoga, all this new age stuff, right? So, Rick, I can't believe there's somebody shooting on the court, and normally we would kind of go, you know, vertical on the court. So we end up at half court, going straight across, passing back and forth, and we get to overhead snap pass.
Oh no.
And me and Kent are throwing these passes back and forth. And Rick, oh God. We're going back and forth. He's like, come on, snap it, put some zing on it, right? And he puts his hands up. And I don't know if it's a tall thing, it's a me thing, but I can throw the ball like super hard. I swear if I pitched, I'd pitch 100. I promise you, just because I'm tall and I've got a great core. God gave me some gifts. And I snapped the ball on a frozen rope, bro. And it goes straight over Kent's head.
Oh.
No dip. And it goes straight over. It pops Ralph Lawler, bro.
Right in the back of the head.
In the front of the head.
So he was facing your direction.
That's what his glasses on.
Oh.
But he's doing a read. So he's not paying attention. And he's not expecting Ryan Hollins to gas a basketball on a frozen rope. I mean, like This was like a this was a Patrick Mahomes like dot
Yeah.
to Ralph's face, and I swear to God, the ball was moving in slow motion, Rick, and it hit him square in the face. It knocked
Did it knock him off his stool?
It knocked him off the stool. His glasses came off. I think it was the Lakers game too. It was a significant game, and like my mouth shook. Like this was one of the most embarrassing. Like this is one of the things. Like I don't know if I forgive myself for this. Every time I see Ralph, are you okay, Ralph? And dude, I don't know if you know that, but Mrs. Lawler goes everywhere with Ralph.
Yes, I've
They're
heard
a tag team, right? So Mrs. Lawler comes over, and if looks could kill, I'm gone. She didn't want to hear I'm sorry. She don't want to hear it's okay. She gave me a look, and I think like maybe for a couple games or two where it was like, "Yo, Hollins, you dog, you dog." It's all good now, but yo.
I'm expecting that they will have videotape of this and they will show it at some point during tomorrow's game.
Oh, I hope not.
They have to.
I hope no. We're trying to deep six this thing, and I heard.
I need to make a call.
I called my boy and I told my boy about it, and he didn't believe me, and he was like, because I went back and I texted him like, "Yo, bro, I almost killed Ralph Lawler." And I'm like, "What?" Like, yo, like. Oh my God! Like this is like he's like Chick Hearn,
yeah,
Stu Lance,
yeah,
Ralph Lawler. Like this is an LA legend,
yeah.
And Ryan Hollins, this would have been the wrong way to be remembered in LA.
Yeah, that's like tripping Vince Scully leaving the press box and
God.
tumbling him down the stairs.
Right?
Good on you.
And I guess he talked about it on air, and I'm like, Ralph. Why would you do
this
that?
has to come up. I mean, you have to, like, when they introduce you, you have to say, and by the way, Ralph, I'm just so glad that you're here for a multitude of reasons, including the fact that I nearly killed you with a snap pass.
I don't know.
You played 2 years. You played their 12-13 season and the 13-14 season from what I'm seeing.
Well, bro, I don't know if it's, there's those events in life.
Yeah.
Can we laugh about this?
Yeah.
I don't know how.
It still might not be funny for him at this point. Yeah, I hear that.
I don't. The risk versus reward.
Yeah.
For Ryan Hollins' last broadcast as the Clipper team.
All right.
God.
Well, we are going to discuss that Grizzlies Clippers game because it is our Friday podcast, and as always, we get you prepared for all of the games Friday night. Just for those who are keeping score, as we are, the first week we did this, Ryan took a decisive 5-3 lead, got 5 out of 8 correct. I got 2 out of 7 because I bailed on the over-under on the Sixers game that first week. I'm not bailing on anything anymore. We will give you...
Are the over-unders killing me? I feel like that's where I'm losing my ground.
No, actually, you were okay. In fact, no, you were really good. You were this past week. I moved ahead. I was 9-7. You were 8-8. You're still 13-11 overall. I am behind. I'm 11-12 because that first week just killed me.
13-11? I'm horrible.
Anything over 500 is good. I'm glad that you're setting your bar high. But anything over 50%. And, yeah, you kind of backtracked because you were 5-3 the first week. You figure you maintained that pace, but you went 8-8. But when it came to over and under, you were really good. You got 6 out of 8 correct on the over-under. I got 5 out of 8. That's what absolutely killed me the first week. I didn't get any right the first week. So there you are. But as the season goes on, the beauty of this with you and I is that knowing the game as we do, the more intel we get, the easier it's going to be for us to predict these. This has been a wild, wild start. And we bring all these picks to you on behalf of sportsbetcollective.com. Let's face it, betting on sports makes the games a lot more fun to watch. And we are here to give you our favorite NBA picks for Friday night. Actually, we're going to go through all of the games for over, under, and against the spread. The first pick is free when you go to sportsbetcollective.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter, which gives you free weekly picks from all the top experts in a variety of sports: the NFL, college football, NBA, college hoops, and hockey games. And I am part of the credible cast of sports media experts, professional sports bettors, retired athletes, sports-obsessed entertainers. They're all there. So whether you're a seasoned sharp or a total sports betting beginner, you want to go to sportscollective.com. It's sportsbetcollective.com because it's like $1 for a pick. And you can't beat that, and you can't beat the information. So no matter what the size of your bet is, make sure that you're informed. Here we do it. This is all gratis. This is all on behalf of sportsbetcollective.com, and we give you every NBA game tonight. And we're going to rip through them because we got a lot of games, and then we'll go back and we'll discuss some of the reasons why we made the picks that we did and some of the more interesting games. Notably, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be without Markelle Fultz for the foreseeable future. We'll talk a little bit about him, John Wall, and the Wizards. But let's get to it. So we're going to go back and forth. We're going to start with the Timberwolves.
We're going right into it today.
Yeah, we're
going right into it.
We're going to go right into it.
Are you trying to throw me off my rhythm?
No, you know what? Here's the thing. We spent a good 7-8 minutes on your Ralph Lawler story, so we're actually not really going right into it.
Okay.
That was our warm-up. All right, so we're going to start with the Timberwolves and the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are getting 2 points, and the over-under is 200. The Nets have been very competitive, continue to be very competitive, even without Karis LeVert. I am still going to go. I'm going to give the 2 points. I'm going to take the Timberwolves. I think they've played much better since the Jimmy Butler thing has been resolved. And it was just, 3 games ago that they beat the Nets 120-113. Now, that was at home, and this one's going to be on the road, but I'm going to take the Timberwolves. And as far as the over-under at 200, I am going to take the over on that.
Okay. Well, Rick, I like how you read it and you decided to go first. But don't worry, I'm going to hop right in and follow suit. Okay. I'm going to go Nets. It's always hard to beat a team twice in the NBA. I don't care who it is. I don't care who's in the roster. A lot of G League two-way call-ups. It's always tough.
Okay.
So I'm going Brooklyn. I'm going to take that too, and I'm going to go over. I mean, in today's NBA, they start calling a few fouls. Both teams get over 100 points.
Yeah.
So mark me down there. So the game that I'm calling, Rick, we want you to see they're giving Memphis 3.5. Los Angeles is at home. In the under over 214. Where you at, Rick? Where you at?
I'm going to go Memphis, and a big part of this is not just because the Grizzlies have been on a tear. I've really liked what the Clippers have done. I believe any home court advantage you have is removed or minimized because it's an early game. Those early games are terrible. So I am going to go Memphis, and I'm going to go the under because I don't think they're going to shoot very well either as a result of it being a 12:30 start. It takes a warm-up in order for them to get going.
Well, I'm actually going to take the Clippers, obviously. Mm-hmm. There's something special about them. I think their depth wins out against Memphis, and they're solid, barring that Marc Gasol doesn't just decide to just go off. And he's a matchup that really, really scares me in this game. And I'm going to go with the under. Not necessarily for the Clippers, but for the Grizzlies. They play at probably the slowest pace in the NBA. Yeah, they run offense. A lot of teams run, into their secondary. They run into concepts. They run into drags or pick and rolls. They have a free-flowing offense. Memphis runs into sets, okay? So that slows everything down because you got to look at the point guard. You got to get a set, and then you got to go execute it. So they don't play too much random basketball. It's more so scripted, but essentially who the guys are. And, when you got Marc Gasol on the court, that's how you get the most out of them.
Okay. Houston, Detroit. Detroit is getting 4.5. The over-under is 217. These two teams just played tooth and nail to the finish. Detroit thought that they got worked a little bit as far as how the game ended. As I'm going to take a cue from you. Tough to beat a team 2 times in a row. I think the Pistons come into this game feeling like they got an unfair whistle and that they deserve one. They're going to come in with all the motivation. I'm going to take the 4.5. I'm going to take the Pistons, and the over/under. I'm going to go over on the 217. It's the numbers have come down, but I think the Pistons are a better scoring team than people give them credit for, and obviously we know what the Rockets can do.
Well, you know what? I agree. I'm going to take that 4. I think Houston is going to have a lot of difficulty, as you saw, matching up with Detroit, who plays big, traditional 2-big lineup. And I'm going to take the over, just because Houston's not going to try to guard, and Detroit is going to take advantage inside. And I think these two teams are pretty lopsided. Also, Detroit still has no one to guard James Harden, So this is going to be a match that goes definitely over 217. Okay. Interesting one here. Boston Celtics at Atlanta. Atlanta's got 8. Boston hasn't been playing well, Rick. And 220 is the over-under. Where you at?
I am going to go. I just can't believe that Boston has to break out at some point. They haven't. They're so angry after losing to the Knicks, and they've had a day to stew with it, that I have to go. I'm going to give Atlanta the 8. It's probably a dangerous pick. I'm going to take Boston. I'm going to give the 8, and I'm going to go, man, Boston has not been scoring well. With the 220, I'm going to go under. I don't feel good about that. I take that back. I can't. I got to go over. Because here's the thing. My logic is that they're going to get on a roll. And so I think they're going to put up a big number, and they're going to win by double digits, and they're going to score 125 something. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm going to take that 8 from Boston. Some days, time just a day of rest with family. Like forget about basketball. If I'm Brad Stevens, and I don't know what Brad did in this situation, but he said, hey, get out the gym. Nobody come in. We're locking the doors. I'll see you at shoot around. We'll get in early, and we'll get in a good one. And I'm going to take the over. I just don't think Atlanta, even though they play really hard, they're going to have the respect from the whistle, from the referees to not go over, or to, be able to defend. So I'm going with the over on 220. So
but you are taking Boston. You're giving the 8 points, and you're taking Boston. Are you taking Atlanta and taking the 8 points?
I'm taking. No, I'm going Boston. I'm taking Boston with
Hold
the
on.
8.
You keep breaking up here.
Boston will win over 8. Yep.
Oh, dang it. You were sketchy there. So just go. Let's start here. So let me be clear.
Am I good now?
You're kind of going in and out a little bit.
I don't know why. I'm in this back room.
Yeah, you were good right up until now. So let's go ahead. All right. So to be clear, you are taking Boston and you're giving Atlanta the 8 points.
Yeah, I'm taking Boston, and I'm going with the over 220. Okay. So Boston's going to take it by more.
All right, a game that we are going to come back and discuss more, but it's the Cavaliers and the 76ers. 76ers are giving the Cavs 13.5 points. The over-under is 220. Where are you going with that?
Okay. I'm not taking 13. From the Sixers. I'm going to go Cleveland in the situation. I know they're bad, but I see the 76ers playing to their level, and Cleveland actually plays a little hard. They play hard. I think they got some momentum off that LA game, and I'm going to go with the under. I think it's just going to be an ugly Eastern Conference game, so I'm going with that under.
I like the 76ers more without Markelle, but I'm with you in that the 13.5 is a big number. The Cavs just played the Lakers, and that was a fairly big number, and they covered. So I'm going to roll with that and say that the Cavaliers do make this competitive. And as far as the over/under, yeah, the Cavs are not a great scoring team. I'm going to go with the under as well.
Okay, Rick. New Orleans Pelicans, New York Knicks. New York gets 7. Over under 237, Rick. Oh, 237.
Yeah, that's a really, really big number. I am I'm gonna go New Orleans. I'm gonna give the 7. I know the Knicks have just knocked off the Celtics. They're feeling good about themselves. I think probably that's going to it may come back on them. They're such an up and down team. When Tim Hardaway Jr. is hot, then they're a different team, but he kind of goes up and down. The 237, I can't do it. I just can't go over. I have to go under. I don't see that number. I don't see them. I don't see a 135 or a 125, 115 game. So I'm going to go New Orleans, and I'm going to go with the under.
Okay, well, I'm going Knicks in this case. They played hard. Like, they worked their tails off. And the Pelicans, they're always like that Jekyll and Hyde. Like, just when you want to count them out, they get consistent. And then just when you want to jump on the bandwagon, you don't know who shows up, from them. They take a bad loss. So I'm going to go Knicks here, and I'm actually going to go up the over because the Pelicans' pace is unreal. There's just some things going on. So it would not surprise me if this game gets over. So I'm going to go Pelicans, and I'm going over, Rick.
Okay. All right. Wizards, Raptors. Raptors are giving the Wiz 10 points, and the over-under is 228.
Okay, Rick. In this case, I'm going with the Raptors. And I know 10 is a lot, but the Wizards just beat the Clippers. And they kind of scrapped back and beat the Clippers. But at one point, they were down 20. The crowd started to boo them, and they were ready to crack. And if you're a team on the verge of cracking or frustrating or giving up on your coach and all this stuff's rolling in Washington, the Raptors are a team that can put you in that place. So I'm going to go with the Raptors, and I'm actually going to go with the under because I don't know if Washington is going to be able to score that much. They're really struggling just finding out who they are and trusting each other, Rick.
I'm with you on that. I'm going to go Toronto as well. I don't like laying double-digit points ever, but the Wizards are a mess, and they came back at home after being booed by their home crowd. I could see them getting down again in the same way, and this time Toronto's not going to let them back in. And I will go. I have to go the under too. I agree with your sentiment on why that may not they may not be able to make that 228.
Okay, Charlotte Hornets at Oklahoma City. Charlotte gets 6 over under 227. Where you at, Rick?
So, big believer in what Oklahoma City is right now. And can Kemba Walker continue on this tear?
Oh,
that
man.
is the question. How many games in a row is he going to score like this? I think if there's a team built to slow him down, it's this one. The combination of Russ Westbrook and Dennis Schroeder and Steven Adams protecting the rim. I am going to lay the 6 points. I'm going to take the Thunder, and I am going to take the under because Oklahoma City is sort of the same way as Toronto is defensively. I think they can really slow you down. And let's face it, if Charlotte's not getting 50, 60 points from Kemba, then they're not scoring the way they have. So I'm going OKC, and I'm going the under.
I'm actually going to take the Hornets here. Beyond Kemba, those guys, they're playing pretty well. There's an energy, obviously, around Kemba that Charlotte's not too bad right now. In Oklahoma City, they're just a sturdy, solid team. Now, I'm actually going to take the under here because I think OKC muddies the game up just enough to where you're going under that 227. I'm not really excited about that. Even though I know Russ is probably going to want to show out. He knows there's some press about Kemba. Every time there's a big-time positional matchup, expect Russ to show up big. But I'm going to still stay with this under. Okay, Miami at Chicago. Chicago gets 2.5, interesting enough, Rick, and 214 on the over-under. Where you at?
Well, you're going first on this one. I went first on the last one.
I'm going first? Okay, yeah. Well, nice, Rick. I like how you're competing. I couldn't get you with that. I couldn't get you. Okay, I'm going to go with Miami Heat here. I think Hassan Whiteside decides to be Hassan Whiteside, and he shows up. And I'm going to go with the under. I think this is a gritty defensive matchup, and I think Miami really puts their imprint on the game, and I don't think it's going to be pretty.
This is what troubles me, is that there's something wrong with the Miami Heat. Normally, this would be an easy pick. It would be an easy pick to lay the 2.5 and go with Miami. And as you said, go with the under, which I'm going to go with the under. But the Heat have just been a mess, and Chicago has been up and down. I am going to go Heat, and I am going to go under. But I feel like this game's going to be a lot closer than it should be.
Too close for comfort.
Okay. We have Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee. Milwaukee just beat the Portland Trail Blazers 143-100. That's not, I didn't stutter. 143-100. You're talking about one of the best teams in the Western Conference.
Oh, gosh.
Who just like what? 2 weeks earlier beat the Bucks at home. And they go into Milwaukee, and they just got smoked. In that game, Milwaukee built an early lead, then the Blazers came back, and then it just got unbelievably ugly. Giannis Antetokounmpo was unbelievable. Milwaukee is laying 13.5, and Phoenix is not a good team, and this is in Milwaukee. But I believe that 13.5 is inspired by what they did to the Blazers. I'm actually going to take Phoenix. I'm going to take the 13.5.
Wow.
I think the Bucks are just too up and down. I don't think that they're going to look to put the hammer down on the Suns the way they did the Blazers. I'm going to take Phoenix in the 13.5. And scoring-wise, I'm going to go the over because I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I'm going to go Milwaukee. I'm gonna go Milwaukee on this. The one thing Phoenix doesn't have is rim protection. Aiden's still figuring things out, and I can see him making some business decisions with Giannis down there and getting out the way. And they're actually a different team because they are getting 3-point shots up. They may not make them, not all their guys, but they're gonna take them. They're gonna force that pace. So I'm gonna also go over with the pace. Okay, Orlando Magic at Denver. Magic gets 7.5, Rick, and they've been playing pretty well lately. 214 on the over/under. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Orlando. I'm not a believer in the Nuggets, and I put them and the Bucks in the same category as two teams that people tout really highly, and I don't think they're quite as good as people make them out to be. Now, the Bucks made me look bad by the way they just undressed the Blazers. The Nuggets, meanwhile, have, I think, they just eked one out over the Minnesota Timberwolves. But if you look at their play over the last 2-3 weeks, they came out really hot. And since then, they have been just scuffling hard. So in this case, I'm going to take Orlando. I'm going to take the 7.5. I'm going to go under because Denver does play some pretty good defense. They don't play at a really fast pace. This is in Denver. And Orlando doesn't always doesn't score well. So I'm going to take Orlando, but I'm going to take the under.
Okay. Well, I am going to take Orlando. They've been playing really well lately. There's just something I like about what Orlando's doing. I think the Nuggets still win the game, obviously. But they're kind of slumping a little bit, They're kind of up and down, running the mill. They're a solid team, what I expected, and I'm gonna go with the over, Rick. I don't think any team guards the rim too well. I think they both get up and down. They want to score the ball and they shoot at good pace. So I'm going with the over.
All right. Last one, Lakers Jazz, or rather Jazz Lakers. The Lakers are giving 2.5 points. Do I have that right? Lakers are giving the Jazz 2.5 points, and the over-under is 220. My, how things have changed. At the beginning of the year, the Jazz were one of those teams that you didn't mess with, but they have been struggling mightily. Where are you going on this one?
I'm going with the Lakers. I'm going to take that 2.5.
I think they're giving the 2.5.
No, Utah's getting 2.5, right?
Yes. So you're not taking it, you're giving it.
Yeah,
you're taking the Lakers. You're taking the Lakers, but you're giving the 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. We're giving up Lakers going to win by more. Appreciate that, Rick. Don't want to confuse the listeners, but I'm going to go with that over. I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think LeBron is just falling into a rhythm. You know, he kind of just knows where his shots are, knows what to expect. Tyson Chandler's doing some good work on the inside, and, you know, the rest of the team's kind of following suit. They've got a good rhythm going. But I'm actually going to go with the under. I think Utah still muddies the game up. Even though LA likes to run up and down, they have at times can be very streaky, you know. So I think LeBron does just enough to win. Obviously, we saw he blew up for 51 a couple nights ago, you know, did what he needed to do in Cleveland. I don't think LeBron's too excited to play the Utah Jazz. I think he wins by just enough.
Okay. I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to say that the Jazz win this one. I think that it is going to be the under. I think they're going to try to keep the pace under control. But as good as LeBron has been, this Lakers team still shows its youth at times, and they're missing Rondo right now being out. They need another floor general to kind of keep things under wraps. I like the defense that they're playing, which is another reason why I go the under. But you saw it with Cleveland. Like, that shouldn't have been a close game. The way that the Lakers are built and the way that they can play, and ultimately it did end up going down the wire. And then you got LeBron James, who, for all of the everything that he's doing, the dude cannot hit clutch free throws right now. Gosh, it is just... And he's changed his form like for the 1,000th time. Dude, just pick on something. And it's not whether you're stepping back or not or how many dribbles. It's like... Don't lean back. Don't lean forward. Like, be on balance when you shoot your damn free throw. All right. Those are all the picks. I want to go back and hit a couple things, and I want to start with Markelle Fultz. And we don't have that much time left, but I do want to hit a couple of subjects that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about. And Markelle Fultz is one of them. We've all seen the juggling free throw. Amari Cooper in the Thanksgiving game, Dallas Cowboys beating the Washington Redskins, scored and then mimicked the juggling free throws form of Markelle Fultz. And Markelle Fultz not only wasn't insulted, he put out on social media video of himself watching, reacting, and saying, "Good shot, boy," I think was the line that he put at the bottom of the screen. First of all, let's just start with the free throw shooting form. What is up, Ryan Hollins? What is up with the, right, left, right, shoot?
Man, Rick, I've never seen anything like this. Markelle Fultz is an odd... he's an odd NBA player because I don't know him personally. I can't speak to that, and I would hate to speak to something that I don't know. But he's an enigma to me, man. I can't really tell what's going on. I've played through injuries before. I've seen guys play through injuries, through shoulders and whatnot, and I know once you get that shoulder loose, it's not really an issue. So it's hard for me to just really say, when I see this guy can cock the ball back behind his head and dunk the basketball and do a lot of things, to say that shoulder is bothering him enough to make his free throw release change and shot mechanic change. I think he's just working with bad people, man. And you get in the lab and you work with the wrong person, or the wrong person puts their hands on your game that doesn't know your game, that you don't respect people, and it can screw you up on the court. Because, Rick, I've been coached by, hundreds of coaches. Do this, elbow in, over the head, hold the ball here, hold the ball there. Yeah. I don't listen to all of them. Yeah. You don't listen to all of them. And it looks like Markelle Fultz is trying to listen to everybody. And Philadelphia as an organization is they're in such an experimental stage still that you can imagine how many people are in his head telling him what to do. Markelle, go be Markelle Fultz. Do what you need to do. If it's a matter of health, brother, I don't want to speak to that. But when you get on the floor, be on the darn floor. But whatever's going on, I'm just not sure about it, Rick.
Yeah, it's odd for me that he would find, enjoyment or entertainment out of somebody mimicking. If he was making free throws, if he was like shooting it grandma style and somebody mimicked it, but he had found the secret and he was nailing it, I could see him saying good shot and enjoying that. The fact that he is that he's not making free throws, that he's struggling mightily, and now is shelved. That is an odd reaction for me. But as you said, he's an odd guy. When I talk to people going into the draft, I said, who's the guy that you would worry most about that he won't handle being the number one pick from a psychological standpoint? Because for those who don't know, for all of the accolades and the adulation that you get for being the number one pick, it also comes with a tremendous amount of pressure, because regardless of what team took you, what your arc of your abilities is, that you are expected to be the best player in your draft class. And if you're not, then you are going to have problems and you're going to be challenged. And so that's where I'm not surprised by all the mental things that he's going through. There were people in the league who sort of anticipated that he didn't have a whole lot of success, as if you're the number one pick, your team should win more games than he did in college, in my opinion. So all that said, it's a weird place. I believe, now there's also the rumors that he wants out, he wants a fresh start someplace else. I wholly buy that. I know that his attorney/agent has denied that they've made any indication to Philadelphia that they want out, that they just want to get him healthy because of his shoulder and his wrist. But Ryan, I look at the way he's played the last couple weeks, and I see a guy who's trying to show out for himself. I see a guy who's played far more selfish, and I've seen him look guys off. He's got guys easy, and he's always going to the rim. He's always looking for a shot. For me, it's Markelle is trying to show, hey, I'm still a player here, and it's not about the team. And so I believe, honestly, I think they're going to be a better team in the short term without him playing.
No, I agree. TJ McConnell, we talked about this earlier, Rick. They're just better with him on the floor. And everybody who knows basketball is really enamored when you see situations where he doesn't play at all, or he plays sparingly, or you're putting these you're forcing players to play the point guard position who shouldn't play the point guard position. I mean, he's even more efficient than Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is a star, but the team just runs better with McConnell on the floor. He may not have the talent. He's a hard worker. He does all the little things, and the team plays better with him on the floor. And Markelle Fultz, he's just struggling, man. It's odd to me that you're a point guard. He's always scored the basketball. Yes, he's had the ball in his hands, and I understand guards today need to score, but Markelle was never a playmaker. He was a guy who just made shots. He took volume shots in college, and you can't expect the same in the NBA. You can't just recreate Russell Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like a lot of teams are trying to do that.
Agreed. One of the other guys before we go wanted to hit the situation in Washington with John Wall, because we had the comments that came out from the locker room, someone in the locker room talking about that it's really difficult to play with John, that he walks all over Scotty Brooks as a coach, and that it's not a good situation, and it's not going to be a good situation. And this is what I'm really curious about from a player's perspective. The worst part of this, in my mind, is that if you don't definitively know who's saying these things, you now suspect a couple guys. You have your list of potential culprits, but you don't know definitively who it is. And that's even worse than if you knew exactly who it was, because then you can kind of go, well, you know what? He's a locker room lawyer, or he's not happy with his role anyway. You can isolate it. The problem is if you suspect multiple teammates, and now you're kind of looking at everybody with kind of that sideways look, and that to me is not going to go away. This is an issue that I just don't see the Wizards getting past. They've gotten past some issues in previous seasons. This to me is something that's not going to be resolved unless they change the roster.
The team, it's funny to me, Rick. They put out the reports that said, John Wall and Bradley Beal are up for trade. Something tells me Bradley Beal ain't up for trade, dog. And when you throw out a name like Beal, if Bill is going for a lot. And if John is going, I think it's just kind of moving that contract. With all due respect, I think it's just time. I was there in Washington, and we couldn't figure things out. The team was up and down, and the team seems to be in the exact same spot as the same place that I left it when I was there, Rick. So it's just time for a change. And not to say that John Wall can't play ball anymore. John just needs to be in a healthy system, a fresh start for everybody. But it's just the roster. I'm looking at it. The roster's talented. It's still the East.
Yeah,
they can still
agreed.
make the playoffs. There's still a lot to be done. But Rick, you singing the same darn song, man. Yeah. It's old now at this point. But I wish they had addressed this during the season. And this is the last thing I'll say. And if you watched him play, John is not a spring chicken anymore.
Nope.
And John got out of shape this summer, and he stepped into this year and tried to do the same things he had been able to do his entire career, and it's not working out the same. You know, his athleticism doesn't just take over. He's normally a guy who just gets on the floor, runs himself into shape. He's never had to think twice about it. Well, now he has to think twice about it, and it's taken a little longer for these results to come. And I know John, man, the dude's a competitor. He's frustrated with himself, but right now, just Washington is not a good fit for him.
Yeah. Well, and with Scotty Brooks, I like Scotty Brooks. He doesn't like confrontation as a coach. He has. I mean, look, they did well in Oklahoma City, but I think you had guys like Russ and KD who were self-starters, and even that, in managing all of that, I don't want to be too critical of Scott, but I always question whether that was a great fit with him and John, because I always felt like it was going to get to a point where Scott was going to have to confront John, and that wasn't going to happen. And I feel like that's what we're seeing right now. And so I'm with you. I would not move Bradley Beal. I think his best years are still very much ahead of him. The question is, with that contract and with John's injury history, who is going to take a run at him? I could see Phoenix doing it. You know what? I don't know if James Jones would do it now, but I could see their owner, Robert Sarver.
Wow.
I could see him overruling James and go, I don't care. I want John Wall. I want a all-star backcourt. Look what he'll do for Devin Booker. And we'll see ultimately where that goes. But
we talked about that. Yeah, you're right. We talked about in Phoenix. They're in between getting guys who can really play and then having some youth. And then, you know, McDonald's, what's the GM's called? He's fired out of nowhere. They fired
Ryan McDonough.
Yeah, Ryan McDonough, right? Yeah, he's like, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't surprise me, Rick. Great call.
Yep. All right. And that is it for this episode of Bucher and Hollins. Don't forget, you can follow Ryan on Twitter at the Ryan Hollins. You can follow me there at Rick Bucher. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. Drop us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Screenshot the review and tweet it to us at Bucher Friends, and you'll be entered for a chance to win some swag. Our next podcast will be Monday. It will be me with Will Blackman, the 12-year NFL vet, Super Bowl winner with the Giants. We will cover everything that transpires on Sunday in the NFL. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend.